Hey guys, Cherry Bomb Cosplay here again with my second installment of my 10 video miniseries, 10 Cosplay Tips and Pointers. Today's video is going to cover patterns and fabric, which was only lightly discussed in my first video. Without further ado, let's get to it. Fabrics. Shopping for fabrics your first time is incredibly overwhelming. There's so many patterns to choose, fabrics to choose from. You walk in to the store and you're like, they're all so pretty and shiny and I want to touch them all. You feel like a child in the candy store. You don't know what you want and you want everything. But you need to choose the right one for your character, guys. So, I'm just going to take Elizabeth because she's the first character I ever cosplayed, and I'm going to use her as an example for this video. So, pick what's closest to your character's fabric. What I mean by that is, let's say your character wears a blue bolero, which is what Elizabeth wears. By the way, when I'm talking about Elizabeth, I mean Bioshock Infinite one, not Persona one. And her little jacket is called a bolero. And she wears a blue bolero, and it looks matte. Apparently it's velvet. I was dumb, and she was my first costume, so I didn't get velvet. Hopefully I can remake that costume someday. Right now, I am rushing to finish my Alana costume. Oops. Okay, for Elizabeth, she wears a blue velvet bolero. You would want to try to find blue velvet. That's a Lana Del Rey song, I believe. And I love Lana Del Rey. So, you want to find something like that. You don't want cheap satin for a bolero, because then somebody like, shiny! I'm Edward Cullen. Look at me shine. Don't ever use costume satin. Please, 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 please. As someone who has used costume satin, I look at my old cosplay photos and I'm just like, don't use costume satin. It's so bad. Seriously, I cannot express my hate for costume satin. I don't mean casa or bridal satin. I mean costume satin. This is costume satin. It's really cheap and shitty. Pardon my French. Satin may seem like a very attractive option since it does tend to be cheaper than more heavyweight quality materials, but it's cheaper because it's not as quality. There's a good saying, you pay for what you get what you pay for. If you pay $1 per yard, you're probably going to get cheap satin. However, if you live in LA, the fabric district has amazing fabric for $1. I literally got almost all of my fabric for Snow White from Wolf Among Us there for about $10. It was the snowflake fabric that I had to spend a little bit more money on. So, I mean, it was cool. I mean, the jacket fabric was not $1 per yard, but the skirt fabric was, and it was perfect. Anyway, if you use satin, it's going to look like a Party City costume. And it's like an unwritten rule in the cosplay rulebook that you don't want your costume to look like a Party City costume. While I do completely believe cosplay is for fun, I also believe that you should try to have the best quality costume that you possibly can make. And that does not mean having the most expensive material. That just means making it look nice, making it look like, yes, this is handmade, but look, it's not something that I could get for $5 at Party City with cheap satin. Cheap satin is a no-no. Costume satin, never. Casa satin, bridal satin, matte satin, yes. I have used bridal satin. It is beautiful to work with. You're not always going to find the exact fabric you need. I'm going to bring up Elizabeth from Bioshock Infinite again. I could not find velvet. I didn't even know her dress was velvet, to be honest. But let's say I did, and I couldn't find velvet. I actually couldn't find the right color of fabric that I needed. So I had to go with a darker blue. But it's okay because it's still blue and you can still tell who the character is because she has a white cuffs on her bolero, and she has a long blue skirt, and she has the corset, and I have the short wig and everything because I'm never going to cut my hair like that. I like my hair long. That's okay. You don't need, if you don't need the exact same shade. Trust me, I have seen so many Snow White cosplayers have different shades of blue in their snowflake shirt, and it's okay because they all look amazing. See? It's okay to have a little bit of variety. It makes your costume look unique while still looking good, and like, I know who you are. Patterns, yay. Patterns are great. They're basically templates to cut out a piece of fabric to make it into that shape. You want to make a historically accurate, correct dress like this? Go for it. Everything here is in this. Everything you need to make this is in here. That's right, guys. Patterns also come with material, with instructions like this, and these are so important to read if you want to make it look exactly like this. If you don't, scrap it. But no, this is so important. Like, I forgot how to sew a sleeve. No joke. This basically taught me how to re-sew a sleeve. Thank you. I know how to sew sleeves now. I forgot a lot of things when it comes to sewing. Like, people are like, you're a great seamstress. I'm like, no. I still don't know how I have won a craftsmanship award for my stuff. But you can mix and match patterns. That's right, guys. You want to make a shirt like this? You want it to have sleeves like this? You can do that, as long as you cut in the same size. So basically, you're going to have to cut this in a size 12 and this in a size 12 if you want to mix and match it. By the way, I'm just using size 12 because it's an average size that a lot of people who sew use. So, like, for example, my Elizabeth costume, I used for my bolero, I actually used a different sleeve pattern and a different top pattern. I used basically a modified jean jacket pattern that is modified. You can alter a pattern. And speaking about modifying and altering patterns, how I said I altered the jean vest pattern. Yes, I did. I actually, don't do this. Don't cut your pattern. You should fold it or like draw how you want to make it and then fold it like that, because you never know. You might want to use that pattern at a later date. Modifying a pattern tends to get a little tricky if you're a beginner cosplayer. So I don't recommend it for someone who's beginning. That's why I always recommend simple costumes where you don't have to deal with these like crazy pleats and stuff. But if you want to do it and you're a beginner, I'm not stopping you. This is just a tip video. You can make your own patterns. It saves you so much money, especially when you're trying to find patterns that really don't exist and you find something that's like close to it, but since it's so like obscure, it costs you a ton of money. There are so many great pattern making tutorials on YouTube and the internet, and you can take pattern making classes. If you know someone who sews, chances are they'll probably know how to make patterns. You can ask them. My father's girlfriend taught me how to sew and how to make patterns. She taught me everything I know. I'd still be crying about breaking a needle on the sewing machine if she hadn't taught me. You just fix it. You just get a new one. Like, I thought I was a goner when I broke my needle. I'm like, I have to get a new sewing machine. I was a real noob back then. So yes, you can create your own patterns. Patterns come in different sizes. I was talking about size 12 earlier. Yes, they come in different sizes. Most patterns come in a standard size 8 through 16. They also sell plus size patterns. This one comes in a size 6 through 16. So it's great for my petite friend of mine who is only 4'6" and is very skinny. I'm not so skinny. I have hips. You can look at my Hillary cosplay and you're like, wow, she has hips. Yep. But this one comes in sizes 10 to 22. So this would work for women who are not as thin as I am. And this is American sizes. European sizes usually range from 32 to 42. This one comes in at 36 to 48 in European sizes. I'm not very good with European sizes. I'm American. Anyway, when you get your pattern, you'll notice that it has these little markings with numbers on them. I don't think you can see them very clearly, but yeah, see 12. I always fold to 12 because I am a size 10. So that means when it comes to tops, when it comes to skirts, I'm like a size 16. But yes, you always want to fold one size bigger because this is going to be your template. So you're going to cut your pattern as big as your template. And if you cut it exactly to, let's say you're an 8 and you fold it to 8, to the lowest setting possible, you're going to regret it because your costume is going to come out a size 6. And you don't want that. Why? Let me explain. Especially beginner cosplayers always make this mistake. They're like, oh, I'm going to cut it exactly to my size and it's going to end up exactly to my size. No. When you work with a piece, it shrinks. When you add the pleats, when you sew it once, flip it over, sew it again, it shrinks. It makes it smaller. That's why I don't really mind that my pattern, that my skirt ends up looking huge when I pin it together, because it's going to shrink, and it does shrink. Always cut one size bigger because you want it to fit to you, not smaller than you. It's always harder to make something bigger than smaller, trust me. And even here it says 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Basically, it's a seam allowance. I prefer to just go one size bigger because it's easier instead of me like literally like measuring everything. I don't like to measure stuff. That is my fatal flaw. Again, these are just a few tips. They're not a must-do. They are not the word of God. If you have any other tips, questions, or ideas, don't hesitate to leave a comment down below. If you'd like to see me do a particular video, let's say creating patterns or doing wigs, which I will in another video. I know cel shading makeup has been, a lot of people have asked for it, especially in my Tumblr and my Facebook. And if I get a better camera, I will do it. It's just not looking good when I do it on here because this is very low quality and the sound is really bad. But yeah, if you have any suggestions for any other videos you'd like me to do, I'd be more than glad to hear them, and I might just do them. And if you have any questions whatsoever and any advice, send me a message on my Tumblr or message me on my Facebook page. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I can't wait to make my next video after San Diego Comic-Con. Have a lovely week. Bye!